Hello, today we'll be teaching you how to restore, season, and care for a cast iron skillet. By the end of this video, you will know how to transform a rusty cast iron skillet into a great piece of cookware. If properly cared for, cast iron pans can be one of the most dependable and versatile pieces of cookware you can find. It can be non-stick without the hazardous chemicals used to make Teflon pans, and because it is cast, it can be thicker and hold on to heat better than stamped stainless steel pans. Before we begin, it is important to address safety. We will be working with very small amounts of oil, so grease fires are very unlikely. Still, keeping a fire extinguisher nearby is always a smart idea. Anytime you are not sure of the temperature of the pan, be sure to use an oven mitt to handle it. Also, be sure to never leave the burner unattended, and never leave the home while the oven or burner is on. This video will be broken up into 3 parts: restoration, seasoning, and care. If only 1 or 2 of these sections is what you are looking for, feel free to skip to your desired section. For this process you will need a cast iron skillet, distilled white vinegar, baking soda, scouring pads or steel wool, flaxseed oil, and paper towels. First is restoration. If left alone for too long, cast iron pans can begin to rust and lose their seasoning. If this has happened, it is important to remove this rust before we can begin to season the pan. First, find a vessel big enough to easily fit your pan. Submerge the pan in a 50-50 mixture of vinegar and water, then allow it to soak for at least an hour. It may need to soak longer if the pan has a thicker layer of rust. Once the rust appears to have dissolved, apply baking soda to the entire pan to neutralize the vinegar. Next, thoroughly scrub the pan with a scouring pad, steel wool, or any other similar abrasive material. Remember to scrub all surfaces of the pan, including the handle, bottom, and outer walls. Do this until all the rust is removed from your pan. Finally, rinse and dry the pan. You may notice a thin layer of rust begin to form on the pan. This is normal and will be removed in the next section, seasoning. After the rust has been removed, the next step is to season the pan. Seasoning is the process of applying a thin layer of oil to the pan and then getting the pan to a very high temperature, causing the oil to form a non-stick coating. Even if your pan was not in need of restoration, it is possible that it will need a new or better seasoning. Next, we will heat the pan with a stovetop burner on medium heat for about 10 minutes to ensure that the pan is completely dry for the next step. Take the pan off the heat and let it cool until it is safe to handle. While the pan is still warm, add a small drop of oil onto the pan and smear it with a paper towel until there is a thin layer over the entire surface, being sure to include the outside and handle. The best oil to use is flax oil, but other oils such as peanut, canola, or even spray-on oil can be used. In general, any neutral and unsaturated oil will work. Place the pan in the oven upside down. This allows any excess oil to drip off the pan. Bring the oven to its highest temperature and leave the pan in for 1 hour. After that hour, turn off the oven and allow it to cool down naturally before removing the pan. It is best to repeat this process at least 1 more time, but you may do it up to 5 more times for an excellent season. Your pan should now be noticeably shinier and feel as though it has a non-stick glaze on it. If not, you may need to repeat this process 1 or 2 more times. This method of seasoning is only necessary if there were little to no seasoning to begin with. Once some seasoning is present, the best way to improve it is simply to cook with the pan. Cooking food, especially oily food, will continue to add more and more thin layers of seasoning to the pan. After the pan has been seasoned, it is important to know how to properly care for it. It is a common myth that you cannot clean cast iron with soap, but because the oil has polymerized, using soap will not strip the seasoning as long as the soap is lye-free. Rinsing the pan with hot water should be enough to clean it, but if needed, you can also scrub it with soap. Once clean, place the pan over a warm burner to evaporate any water to avoid rusting. After the pan is dry, apply another thin layer of oil to the pan, just like how we began to season it. This oil will protect the pan while it is not in use and will likely add to the season the next time the pan is used. If all of these steps are properly followed, your cast iron cookware could easily be used for decades. Thank you for watching.